Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Beyond Influence. Kwame here with Scott, my co-host, and today we have a very special guest with us, Evan Wray. Evan, how are you?
Hey, what's up, Kwame? What's up, Scott? I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. For those of you who don't know Evan, he is the CEO of a pretty awesome company that's growing like gangbusters, captured the creator scene by storm, Mavely. So super excited for our conversation today with Evan. And Evan, what's new with life? What's been going on with you lately?
Yeah, well, thanks for teeing it up, Scott. I feel like life's busy. It's good. I think, I've got two little ones running around right now, 2 under 2 or 2 at 2 and under. So it's keeping it busy. And then, like you said, Mavely's on a roll right now. So quick background, I'm the CEO of Mavely, founded it about 5 years ago with my co-founder. And we're all about these everyday influencers. So it's really real people being influencers, and driving like cool outcomes for brands. And it's resonated super well over the last 5 years, which we can talk about. But yeah, man, it's really fun. It's exciting and keeps you on your toes every day, as you guys know.
I can dig that. What would you say is your favorite part of fatherhood?
Oh man. The way I say it is that once I became a father, it was like everything was so much more important and also so much less important at the same time. So much more important because you got a little life to take care of and responsibilities, like more responsibilities, but also so much less important because like when you walk in the door and they come running at you, it's like, oh, this is nothing else matters, So I'd say that's my favorite part.
It's funny. If I was to ask you a question right after this, we're talking about really important things and not so important things. And so I'm going to throw in a quick question here. We started talking to our guests a little bit about their shoes of the day. Evan, we want to tell us a little bit about what kind of sneaks you would wear for the day.
Oh man, it depends on the day. I would say am I sitting here in my home office for the day? Or am I going out? So, but I gotta do a shameless plug. We work with a ton of brands. One of our biggest selling brands is Hey Dude shoes. So it's like, so my wife actually got me like a slip-on pair the other day, and I've been wearing those around lately. So that's been my newest one recently. Have to do the plug too.
That's awesome. It's funny. The comedian John Chris, he's always posting about like dudes and Hey Dudes. And I love it because it's just like all these random like cameos. You'll see 5 stories about his comedy tour and then just some random dude at a bar and Hey Dudes. It's amazing. I love it.
I mean, it's crazy. I think so. Like the Hey Dudes are for like, I would say like the dads, and then you've got the Crocs craze, which is happening right now, which is, so Crocs are like one of the biggest seller on Mavely, bar none, which is insane. And I never really realized it until, I had kids and they start walking around and every kid at daycare has Crocs on, right? It's like it's the coolest thing in the world. So you've got those 2 different dichotomies there.
Yeah, that's so funny because Scott actually mentioned that if you talked about any dad brands, I'd probably have worked with them or do have them. And that is funny because I did get some gifting from Hey Dude. Right. And so I have a pair of Hey Dude slip-ons.
They're good. They're comfortable, right? Yeah, that's amazing. There you go.
Yeah, I've got to put dad in. I'm not a dad yet. I put dad influencer in my bio now, man. I have all the dad stuff.
Well, you guys know that, right? There's like an arc of influencer lives, and when you get big spikes in followings, right? And becoming a parent's one of them. So
that is true. That is true. I have 2 friends who gained quite the following once they became parents.
Yeah, one of the many, many, many pluses of having kids.
Yeah,
it's so funny. The group of guys that I hang out with who are from my kind of neighborhood, they're always like looking at random brands that they work with. And one of my neighbors is like a steel manufacturing CEO guy. And anytime you pass a rail car, he's like saluting it because all of the skins of the rail cars are like his steel. So I'm just imagining like Evan out there in society being like, those Crocs pay my bills. Yeah. Like, those hey dudes. Like,
that's pretty much it, right? I feel like I'm like walking around and I'm the same thing. I go into a restaurant. I'm like, oh, look at that. That's crazy. And then, yeah, it's amazing. But that's what's cool. Like we allow people to promote things they love. And I think that's just cool to see. Like, products I wouldn't think were like, don't resonate with me, but resonate with, millions of people. And it's cool to see what trends pop up there.
So I'm curious, you said you're all about the everyday influencer. So for like, what is your definition of an everyday influencer?
Yeah, it's a good question. So when we talk about everyday influencer, we don't really think about it as being like small or big necessarily, like from a follower count standpoint. We think about it being more about resonating with an everyday person or an everyday consumer or an everyday audience, right? So I think that's like the flip, because I think a lot of people immediately go like micro or nano, which is a huge market growing like crazy. But what we've seen is actually people that started as micro and nanos and more of this like kind of everyday, I would say like maybe less filtered content is maybe the better way to say it. They've blown up, right? So they're actually now huge and they still talk to their everyday audience. So we think about it as like that unfiltered, more relatable content that's not necessarily, I don't know. Sometimes you see the aspirational influencer on a private jet going to Bali, right? That's not us. We're kind of the other side of the space here.
I think that's awesome. We talk all the time about like how relatable, a lot of the influencers are and the authenticity of the relationship and how the like shared experience is so important in social and especially in driving great representation for brands. And yeah, there are aspirational brands where being on a private jet and showcasing this or that luxury item, but there's so much of just everyday items, everyday value for real people living their lives. And I think it's really cool that social has developed into that, because I think there was a lot of early social, which was just the rich, just the famous, the aspirational, the kind of not really approachable for most people. So I love that you guys are both supporting kind of that ecosystem from a consumer side as well as the creator side.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool. And I think there's been a couple of pretty big shifts over the last 5 years in social that are driving that. And first one being, we call it internally like the TikTok effect. Right. So anyone could go viral on TikTok. And so everyone started creating content on TikTok. So all of a sudden you get the high schoolers on the side of the road dancing to try to go viral on TikTok. And that's fun and it's cool, but it basically made everyone a creator and made everyone a chance of hitting this viral piece of content. And what happened was creators flooded to TikTok. Right. And then all the other social platforms were like, oh, shoot, they're doing something right here. So there's been these algorithm tweaks in all the other social networks to actually start to amplify more of your everyday person, right? Your everyday creator, kind of give that almost bad example, almost like a lottery ticket of like, if I create enough content, one of them is gonna go viral. So that's been cool to see. And again, we internally call that like the TikTok effect of these social algos. And then the other thing that's been awesome is that the gig economy is real. And I think if you talk to, elementary school kids or middle schoolers, they want to be, influencers or YouTubers more than they want to be astronauts, which is crazy, but it's real. And so we think a lot about is like not too dissimilar from what Uber did with everyone with a car, right? Like you used to have like the super professional high end, limo drivers or black car drivers or whatever it is. But what Uber did is opened up to everyone, right? They have both, right? They have the super top end, but they also have anyone who wants to make a side hustle, on their commute to and from work, even nights, weekends, whatever it is. And we think it's an opportunity to do the same thing in the social space, in the influencer space. And so you've got like the social networks pushing it. You've got the influencers wanting to do it. And then like you said at the top of this, Scott, is creators or consumers want to buy from people they resonate with, and that's more trusted. So you got the consumer side of it as well. So pretty fun marketplace to be in right now.
Yeah, I think it's my personal distinction between, maybe not everybody agrees with this, but the idea of influencer versus creator. I think when in the like origin phases of social media and big social media, it really was geared towards influencers really gaining a platform, right? The people who had these super slick, like stylish lifestyles, and they showed it and portrayed it in just little accents, just little parts of their lives. And now we've gone forward into this very creator phase where people are actually creating content based off of their life, right? What's actually going on. When people were influencers, it was just a slither of what you could see.
You only saw the good part, right?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And now it's gone into a really, really cool creator. Everybody has access and accessibility to this like platform and social status like capability. And it made it more normal. And when you make it more normal, you make everybody feel more accepted within that space. So I don't know. I think that's cool. And obviously you have a lot of knowledge on this and you've come a really long way with what you started. But since starting and before starting, well, how did the idea of Mavely come to be? And I like the name Mavely. I'd love to know where the name came from, all that cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. The name's a funny story. I'll hit on that in a sec. But yeah, so for I guess the kind of where Mavely came from. So I was so me and my co-founder were actually roommates in college, which was feels like for us like a little over 10 years ago, like a little over 12 years ago now. So it feels forever ago. But anyway, we started our first company in college and ultimately like navigated. Fortunate enough to get venture funding and grew that. And it was in the emoji space, right? So it was like, it wasn't quite creators, but it was, how do you send a branded emoji to your friends, right? It was kind of the gist of it. And we grew that, ultimately sold it. And we're thinking about, hey, what do we want to do next? And around that time, it was 5 years ago. So around that time, we're looking at some of the trends I just said, right? Like Uber starting to roll, like the gig economy's coming, the influencers, like to your point, Kwame, is like influencers were more of that like high end, super aspirational, like small, call it slice of life. And we thought that ultimately that wasn't gonna, not that it wasn't gonna resonate, but there's just gonna be a larger market for it long term. And so that just got us thinking about, okay, cool. Like let's do something with influencers or more creators, and everyone's going to be creator. Everyone's going to be influencer. That's where the concept of like everyday influencer came from, or everyday creator. And so we launched, and the same backers backed us from our first company, backed us in Mavely, and we launched, and we called the company, this gets into the naming, right? We called the company My Favorite Things. So we're like, okay, cool. So we're going to get a bunch of people to post about their favorite things. And so we started doing this and we started building the business, and we're real big on creator feedback. Like tell us good, bad, and ugly about our business. That's how we're going to get better. And everyone, like maybe not everyone, like 9 out of 10 people, like 90% of folks were saying, yeah, these aren't my favorite things. These are things I like, or I like right now, right? But if you want my favorite things, I'm gonna have to spend a lot more time thinking about it. If I'm gonna put my name on it, so we're like, okay, we gotta pivot this name here. So then we didn't really know about naming, so we're like, okay, well let's go get a naming agency or like a branding agency and like figure this out. Let's have them figure out a cool name, do market research and everything. But we were also a startup. We didn't have much money. We raised a little bit, and I'm like, I never want to pay too much, like outsource too much stuff. So like, so we maybe went a little bit on a budget on the naming agency, and they were coming back with stuff that was just not great. So like, I think one of the companies was, or one of the names was like Waverly or something like that. And my co-founder Sean, who's our CTO, he was having dinner with his wife, and he was walking through these names with her, like, hey, we're thinking about changing it from My Favorite Things to this other name. And his wife goes, I refuse to say that my husband works at any of those companies' names. And she's like, give me 24 hours. And in 24 hours, Sean's wife came back and said, what do you think of Mavely? It's a play on Maven, and Maven's a trendsetter, and trendsetter in different industries. And then like, the LY to be, a little cooler. But that's how we went about it. But yeah, so it was my co-founder's wife gave her 24 hours and she came up with an amazing name, and it's resonated super well. Creators love it. It's been really fun.
That's awesome. It's funny that my favorite things, I'm old and nerdy, and so I just think about like Sound of Music and like Julie Andrews singing to children. I'm like, it doesn't seem like a hip social platform.
Yeah, we could have paired that with like our original. The logo looked a little bit old school too, like that. So we could have been all right, maybe. But.
So did you guys know that you were like, was the mission the same the whole time? It's like the everyday creator, or did you start and pivot? I'm curious. And then for people who don't know, kind of walk through, how you engage with creators, how you connect with brands, and ultimately like how you drive success for them together.
Yeah, for sure. So let me start there, and I'll talk about the vision on the back end. So Mavely at the core, we're a suite of technology tools geared at creators, and we have about 1,300 brands and retailers on one side of the market. We've got about 95,000 creators on the other side. And we build a bunch of tools for creators to find brand collaborations, create shareable links, commissionable links, and then post it out into wherever they want to post. The whole point is we like to help creators make the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And so we work with, major retailers like Walmart and Target and, Nike and Nordstrom to connect them with everyday influencers at scale. So when I post a Hey Dude Shoes link and, Kwame buys it, then that Hey Dudes is paying, Mavely for those transactions. And then we're doing a revenue split with our influencers. So it's a way to get them a lot of income on an ongoing basis. And then Hey Dudes will come in and then also do like paid campaigns and paid flat fee placements for our creators. So it creates like a really cool earnings dynamic, and we've built a lot of analytics around it for our creators to make it easier for them, frankly. And then the last thing we've done is we've put a lot of resources around it. So like we've got Mavely University, we've got coaching, we've got account managers, people who have scaled influencer programs themselves. So we see a lot of creators come in who are like just testing it out. This is maybe going to be a side hobby. I've never done this before. And then they go through Mavely University and they see the experience, and then they connect with the brands and they do their first campaign, and then they make sales on their links. And all of a sudden they become like, a full-time creator. So it's cool to see. So that's really what we do like as a company. And then our vision actually from day one was really focused on, I would say like, moms, so people that were having families. They wanted to still have flexibility in their lives. They, maybe were, going to and from, whatever the kids' events are, but they still wanted to build something, right? And they still wanted to be entrepreneurs, and they still want to be creators. And so that was where we like initially focused, and probably a better term for it was like, gig economy folks. But I think there was this, we found out pretty quickly was there were a lot more people that are resonating with it than just moms, but B, it was like the beginning of this. I kind of made like the early part of like everyone wanting to be in the gig economy, and so we got a little lucky in that sense. I think you have to be able to execute, but you also have to hit the waves at the right time.
That's amazing. I think it's super cool. How you guys, went after this particular, group of creators, influencers of the market. And it feels like the timing was just nailed as far as the shifting tides in social media and, how people were engaging, how this boom in creators. And I'm curious, like, how hard was it to get creators to want to work with Mavely? How did you guys start at creating a pool of creators? And then, you said 95,000, I think 1,300 brands. Like, where did you even start to try and amass that many people?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's the whole chicken and egg situation, right? In marketplaces. So for my first company, Swift, I was super, we were 22 when we started it. And it was in licensing, and we were naive enough just to go call Disney and try to get a license from Disney. And after a bunch of pestering, we actually got one, right? But we were super naive. We didn't know we were doing it. But once we had it, it was like a domino effect. So maybe, I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it with Mavely. So we, on the brand side at least, we started to approach like the biggest of the big brands right out the gates. And the thought being like, once we can have some of these major retailers, these major brands on board, it would add credibility to our creators. The creator side was a lot harder because there was, no one knew who Mavely was, right? No one trusted us. No one was like, you're this startup that looks like you don't have any presence on online or on social or anywhere it is. So that was just like, how do we get our first 10 customers? How do we get our first creators? And then how do we lean in super, super, super hard? So we still have it today. We have an advisory committee of creators to provide us real-time feedback. We survey all of our creators all the time, like probably a couple, I would say at least 4 times a year, if not more. We've got these micro events we do, which we did a lot of those early on, is like getting the creators in a room around a table. What do you like about the business? What's your biggest pain point in being a creator, period? Right? Like that was some of our biggest product innovations just came from sitting down with creators for a day and having us walk us through your day, like walk us through your journey. What's if we could fix one thing, what is that thing? Right. So it's a lot of those, we call them customer conversations, but a lot of those creator conversations early on, especially that helped us start to build the right thing. And then we made a couple of strategic bets to try to put our creators in a good spot to succeed with these bigger brands. And it's one of those things, like the hardest one's the first one on the brand side. But the minute you knock the door down at like a Walmart or something, everyone wants to be part of that ecosystem. And then so fast forward to today, we still have that myopic focus on building the best platform for creators. So we host honestly, like feedback sessions between me and the rest of the C-suite with our creators regularly. We have, 2 times a week, we still have our account management teams who are talking to our creators daily, providing direct feedback, all the way up to the C-suite, right? So we don't want to lose that pulse on the customer. And we've put some things in place that are structurally designed to keep that going. And I think that's been super, super helpful. But if you do all that right, the cool thing is that almost 20% of all of our signups come from creator referrals, right? So people they have a great experience, they make money on their Hey Dude Shoes link, and then they say, hey, you got to go join this platform, Mavely. That's really cool. They're really supportive. It's helpful. So if you focus on those first 10, 50, 100 customers, that's what we did, build for them, and then inevitably that flywheel will start going. And get lucky a lot along the way too is probably the last thing I'd
add. Hey, you know what? I always think about this whenever I'm, playing a soccer game and I just take a shot from goodness knows where, and then it somehow ends up in the goal. I always think to myself, I'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, as you guys know, it's a combo, right? You can do everything perfect. And if you run into, bad market timing, bad luck, whatever it is, it's not going to work. And vice versa. You can do a lot of stuff wrong and be lucky. And it still works. My whole thing is, especially people looking to be entrepreneurs, and every creator is an entrepreneur, right? Is, I always say go in life, go ask for the cookie. Right? If you want a cookie, go ask for it. And worst case scenario, they say no, and you're exactly where you were just before you asked, right? So it's kind of a no downside, big upside thing. So maybe that's a little bit of the philosophy too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good mindset to keep in life in general in any way, is if there's something that I can do that can improve my life, and if I can try that thing and failing won't heavily give me a deficit or take me too many steps back, if I have nothing to lose, I should do it. That is the absolute motto. It's really funny. I learned a lot of that from my wife. I'm kind of a laissez-faire guy. I'm if something happens and it wasn't to the best expectation, I'm it's okay. It's life. I'm good, And my wife is always no, I'm going to go ask for what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? If I get the wrong sandwich at a restaurant, I'm you know what? I'm sure this one will be good. So I've learned through the last, 2.5 years of my life that hey, if you want something and it's not going to hurt you, it's not going to take you far back, there's no reason in not asking for it or pushing for it or going for the cookie.
Yeah, you got to. Otherwise you don't never know where life could take you, right?
Yeah.
So one of the coolest things, and Evan, we've talked a little bit about this before, but one of the cool things as a entrepreneur, as someone who works in a business or leads a business, is the change that you affect, the outcomes that you drive. And one of the coolest things that we talked a lot about creator outcomes. And I think that's one of the cool, a lot of the folks who tune into our podcast are creators, aspiring creators, looking to make money, looking to do brand deals. And, maybe share with our audience just some of the really cool outcomes that y'all have helped drive for these creators, and whatever stats can be shared. But I know they're pretty impressive, but if you can share those with us, it would be awesome.
I love the politically correct way that that Scott just addressed
Connor's like,
that.
give me the numbers. Let's go. Show me the money.
We want to know about the money.
That's awesome. No, I think I love it. Yeah, politically correct but direct, and asking for the cookie, right? So that's cool. So I think from our perspective, I agree with you, Scott. I think that over time the brands are continuing to go full funnel marketing, right? So there's going to be always a spot for more campaign based, like brand based impressions, engagements, campaigns from brands. But as the market matures, brands are also going to demand performance, and performance can be a variety of things, right? Is it impressions can be performance? Is it traffic? Is it sales, right? And where Mavely, I would say over-indexed with our creators is helping them drive sales, right? So all of our tools are designed to help them drive sales. And what's been super cool is, I guess I'll share what I can share publicly here. But this year alone, we're on a run rate to drive over $675 million in direct sales for our brand partners. And we've paid out well over $30 million this year alone to our creators, right? So what we're seeing right now is from a brand side, and maybe this is the feedback on the creators is if you can speak a brand's language and understand what is success for them, right? What is their outcome they're looking for, then they'll reinvest and they'll double down. And I think that's been really helpful for us to see. So we see a lot of brands doubling down as we have, top of funnel down to bottom of funnel, but specifically like that affiliate conversion. It's helpful for us and our sales team to be able to go back to our brands and say, hey, you gave us that $100,000 campaign, and 2 weeks later we gave you $500,000 in sales for your Hey Dude Shoes SKU, right? And so now reinvest, and then we can go back to our creators and say, hey, great job, Kwame, you just sold a bunch of Hey Dude shoes. This is why. Have you tried these other products as well? It looks like they would resonate with your audience. So so it's been super fun. And I think from a creator standpoint, you got to be real. You got to be authentic. I think you don't want a creator who's one day saying drink Pepsi, the next day saying drink Coke. It just you lose the credibility. But if you're real, you find, shoes, products, whatever you really love and promote it, getting ahead of that and starting to show like sales and results makes it so much easier for platforms like Mavely to turn that on for you guys for campaigns. So, that's the income we're focused on, or the income, I guess, and outcomes we're focused on driving here. And it's resonating with brands, really, really strongly.
I love that. And some of the specific outcomes I think of, you mentioned the 30 million in payouts, that's 10 extra thousand a year, 100 extra thousand. I think, we can reference it or not, but, some creators $1 million and more in income driven based on their ability to go out and drive product sales. And that doesn't happen just because they're like forcing people or they're pushing people. It's because of like a deep resonance, and they have an audience who really values, what they're sharing with them. So much so that they would buy that much product and also, use that link, and help support the creator as they're buying this product. So I just think it's so cool. I think you guys are really impacting creators' lives, allowing them to be self-sustaining, or at least a part of that journey and pursue. We talk a lot about allowing people to pursue their passion,
yeah,
and be able to have commercial success with their creation. And that it's so cool that we're in a world now where you can quit your job. You can go full time in, and you can work with your audience to find ways to make it sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, we've had I won't say her name because we don't have the okay to say her name, but we've had people who will start as they're a teacher, right? And they start posting things on the side just as a hobby, and then they join Mavely, and then they get coached up, and they keep doing it. And this one lady in particular I know of is she quit her job, and now she's doing full-time influencing 2 teachers, right? And I think the reason you were hitting on that authenticity piece, Scott, and I think the fundamental thing comes down to if your audience trusts you and you're giving them true recommendations, then that's going to drive conversions. And I think that's where it comes down to, is that trust. And I love what you were saying in terms of pursue your passion, because we talk a lot about Mavely, and we service the creators, right? We work for the creators at the end of the day. That's what we wake up every day to do, is build amazing tools for the creators. And so we talk a lot about the ripple. I think that's what's just generally cool about every individual who's a creator, or every company that's powering the creator economy, is there's a true influence, a ripple that can happen. So one of the things we talk about with our team is hey, this, we're growing, we're scaling, but we're not thousands of people at the organization. So we're a smaller team that's growing, that's interacting and affecting, hopefully positively, 95,000 influencers that are hopefully affecting positively literally hundreds of millions and billions of people. So that's just a cool, I think, ripple and responsibility every creator has, and in their own niche way, and every company has around creators. So at least that gets me jazzed up every day. So
when you think about the creator economy, you think about being a creator, I think having the ability to supplement your income is great. Having the ability to make, your creator life your entire income, whatever you want it to be, at whatever capacity. I think that's what's so amazing, right? People think about, when we always thought about having a life in which you could live, in different places, or travel, or just have flexibility of life. We always thought about completely different modes of revenue and ways to get income. And now being a creator, it started out, bit, more siloed in the ways that you could make money. And I love what Mavely has come and now do, because you keep on adding different ways to add revenue to who you are as a creator. When you think about anybody who markets in general, you think about the fact that the best way to get an end result and to put money in your pocket is to be able to sell a product.
Yep.
Right. At the end of the day, and most creators are out there, and they sell, hey, buy my ebook or buy my course, and I think what's so cool about, this part of the creator economy is I'm not selling you something because I want to get rich off of that thing. I'm selling you something because I thought that it was really effective and made an impact in my life, which is why I think it'll also make an impact in your life as well. And why, when you reference the teacher to teacher scenario, this was important to this person as a teacher. Mm-hmm. And they knew that, and they could pass that on to teachers now who could probably be looking for that same solution. And that's what I love about what this creates within the creator economy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so huge. And I think the best, at least what we've seen, is the best drivers of business outcomes are the people that are doing it from that exact place you just talked about, Kwame. It's in the teacher example, a lot of teachers keep reaching into their own pocket to pay for school supplies for kids, right? Because they care about them so much. And so she was doing this, and she's like, hey, here's a couple of cool ways to, pay a little bit less out of your pocket. If it helps you, I'm doing it myself, here you go. And that just snowballed, right? And there was a huge demand for that. And that's a niche for her, for this creator, but it's actually a pretty big niche. And you play that all the way out, again, back to that ripple, right? You start to hopefully, affect a lot of people in a positive way, both the creator and then also the teachers or the kids that they're interacting with. So, and there's a million examples like that in the creator economy, to your point. So it's a fun space to be in. I think brands are waking up to that, and their brands are really hey, we have to be in this space, not just an ad on our budget here, or a single line item on a strategy, but it's the strategy. in terms of where commerce, where marketing is going.
Couldn't agree more. And, for our listeners, you're some of the first to hear it, but we wanted to share with you, one of the reasons why we're talking with Evan and why we believe so much in Mavely is because we're actually launching a partnership by which in later you can generate Mavely links, you can monetize and generate income from posts that you make. You can work with brands. And I just also Mavely, creators can comment and work with brands in our ecosystem. And I just love this, the comment that you made about affecting millions and billions of users. And it was funny when I started at Later, they flashed up a stat on the screen. And it was a 2023 kind of recap of our post stats. And they showed a stat that we did 450 billion impressions on content posted from Later. And I just sat back and I was thinking, that is the most absurd stat that I've ever heard in social media that I'm a part of. And I genuinely feel like you said it, we have this ability to impact commerce, to impact the discovery process of goods in a really, really positive way, and also help creators make money. So I'm super stoked to be partnering with you, Evan, and Mavely on this, getting it into the hands of our brand partners, getting it in the hands of creators, and being able to kind of move the whole ecosystem forward as a partnership.
Yeah, and likewise, Scott. I think we're super excited about it as well. And as I think, like you think about, what's so cool about where we see this space going for creators. Like, so again, the creators listening to this today is more and more transactions are shifting offline to online, which and more brands are aware of that. But people trust, peer-to-peer or close connections the most out of anyone, right? And one of the things that influencers are able to do and creators are able to do is they're able to scale that trust, right? So people who are following you, Kwame, is like they trust you, right? They view you as a friend, right? So like they're scaling that element of that peer-to-peer recommendation, that friend-to-friend recommendation. So you fast forward here, a couple years, commerce is shifting offline to online. People want to buy and get recommended products from their friends, and every single creator is listening to this, is a friend to maybe more people than because of your influence. It's just kind of a perfect storm. It's a super, super great spot to be in over the next 5-10 years here. And brands are, the Amazons of the world, the Walmarts of the world, the Targets of the world, they're leaning in heavily, right? And I think that's exciting because they're definitely trendsetters in terms of where these other brands are going to follow.
100%. And we talked about those 95,000 creators that are in your ecosystem. In Later, we currently have 10 million influencers within our platform. We want to bring as many of those across to be able to drive sales within Mavely, to be able to work with brands, to be able to connect with their audience, create and generate income. And it's just so exciting to be able to do more for our creators and to do more for the brands. And I really believe in the outcomes that this partnership is going to generate. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, no, we love it. The more the merrier here. And I think hopefully just another tool set to help creators be more successful. And at the end of the day, that's what, if the creators are more successful, Mavely and Later are more successful, which means the brands are more successful. So it's a win-win-win, which is great.
Yeah, Kwame's going to be your next all-star creator on Mavely.
Yeah, do
it. Yeah, strictly dad shoes. That's all.
I know a few. I'll send you my links.
What about, hey, can we change the every dad influencer? Let's go.
Oh, wow. Well, we might have to clip that out because I want to patent that trademark. Oh, man. Right. Evan, you've touched on this. I would say like in many different parts of the conversation, but, to really hone in on an answer for this, what role do you see creators playing in e-commerce and then just like the larger economy today? And then like, where do you see that going in the future?
Yeah, it's a super great question. And I think probably one I've spent a decent amount of time thinking about and talking to a lot of people about actually. So I guess the way that I look at creators fundamentally is that they are the digital economy's small and medium-sized businesses. And then there's breakouts of that become mega businesses, right? That become, Apple, right? But or become like maybe your buddy's steel company, right? So like but fundamentally, creators are the digital economy, small and medium-sized businesses. And if you look at just the US alone, like small and medium-sized businesses they're half the economy, right? So it's not a tiny sliver, it's half, and half of trillions of dollars. So as you fast forward, and if you buy in, which I heavily do, is like, more and more eyeballs are going towards social, more and more conversions and sales and customer recommendations are going towards social. Creators at scale are going to be like a huge percentage of that, right, from an SMB standpoint. And I think as we go forward in this, and as you've got the social platforms enabling more and more people to become creators with all kinds of fun tools. You've got platforms like Later and Mavely that are building tool sets for creators to make it easier for them to make more money. You've got major brands that are realizing, oh, wow, this is a mega channel for us. I think we're going to fast forward, and you're going to have brands that look at digital and they say, I need to have my search budget through Google. I need to have my social budget through Meta. I need to have my influencer budget through someone, right? And like, I think that's where it's going to go, and the scale that it's going to get at is to be literally half or more of the digital economy, which is the future of all things, right? In my opinion. So I think it's I think like I said earlier, we're in early innings, is my opinion. I'm probably biased in it too, but I truly believe that.
Well, we're super stoked for the partnership. We're really glad you took the time to come and hang out with us, tell us more about Mavely and just the origin story, all you guys are doing for creators. So if we have creators listening, if they want to go sign up for Mavely, they want to learn more, where should they go?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So go to joinmavely.com and you can sign up right there. Again, no follower count required, right? So that's our whole thing, big or small, and we'll get you going. Kwame, I expect you to be on there too.
Signing up right now as we speak.
I love it.
Well, Evan, do you have any, parting words for the audience as we head off? Anything that you want to talk about, whether it's, personal to your life or whether it's, reflective of Mavely or the creator economy, whatever is on your mind right now that you want to share?
Yeah, I appreciate giving me that. So I think the biggest thing for all the creators listening, I think is so cool, is back to that ripple, right? I mean, every time you post, you might not know who you're influencing or who you're affecting in a positive way. And I think that's just frankly, like a superpower, right? So like lean into it and go for it, and ask for the cookie, right? And be real and be authentic, because one of the coolest things of social right now is that people with mega followings and smaller followings can have a super outsized impact on their own lives and everyone's life. So I would just say, like, lean into that, right? Because that's not every day and age you can do that in, and this is a pretty special one.
I love it. So go make an impact, ask for the cookie, sign up for Mavely, joinmavely.com. Evan, it was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone out there, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Yo.